Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Peaking into Success podcast. Today is episode 22. After all the hype around the Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand, we have had on a female football player who plays for Derby County Women's. We had Jess Camwell.
The Bless is open every day from 12 p.m, serving a wide range of beers, ciders, real ales and spirits. Their kitchen also provides handmade pizzas, loaded nachos, chicken strips and ice cream from 5:50 to 10:30 Monday to Thursday and 12 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. Friday, Saturday and Sunday. The pub quiz is very popular with anyone that enjoys a good beer and a bit of a laugh with their mates. Taking place every Wednesday at 9 p.m, there's loads of prizes to be won, including £50 drinks vouchers for the winners and a bottle of wine for the best team name. Everyone's a winner. They also have a spacious function room available to hire that can hold up to 100 people. Wow, that's a lot. Perfect for birthday parties, work events, weddings and wakes. The Bless really comes to life at the weekends with their branded nights of Stone Love and Fully Loaded, where the DJs play alternative, indie and rock music spanning the generations until the early hours of 2 a.m. There really is something for everyone in what is arguably Derby's best pub.
Hi Jess, so how are you today?
All good, thank you very much.
Brilliant. So we'll get into the first question, which kind of has multiple layers to it. So what got you into the career of football?
I wouldn't say there's a specific thing. I think just growing up, obviously I've got an older brother. He always played football and I think I just kind of took it on from there and just really began to enjoy it. I think it's somewhere where I kind of found myself and I just really enjoyed it and I just kind of grew up the ranks as such.
Did you start at Derby or kind of did you move to Derby later on in your career?
Yeah, so I started at a local team. So I'm actually originally from Peterborough area. So I started off there and then I moved to Cambridge, which was, again, it was just kind of a bigger team. And then I moved to Leicester, which was even bigger. And then 2 years ago, I made the jump to Derby, which has been really exciting.
Was there anything about Derby that kind of gravitated you towards it, or was it kind of, it's East Midlands, being at Leicester before, I'll kind of move there?
I think just the team itself, obviously everyone knows now that the men's team have kind of took it under its wing and it's really going to take a progression forward, which is such a great team to be a part of, knowing that the men's team are backing you and the team can go to great places. So it's just a really exciting project to be a part of, to be honest.
100%. And I mean, you said that you've been at Derby for 2 seasons, so of course you had all the controversy last season of if the club's going to survive or what's going to happen. So did you kind of have to make plans in your head in case Derby kind of didn't exist anymore?
In a way, I think you could say players possibly were, but we kind of just let the managers kind of take control of what needed to be done. We were just playing football and enjoying ourselves and concentrating on that, really. We tried to not look at the bigger picture because it's just, like you say, it's a sad thought and no one really wants to think too much about it. So we kind of just played football and it was what it was. Whatever happened was to happen.
No, 100%. At least, I mean, you were focusing on your games and that's the main thing. So, of course, being at Derby, you kind of corrected me just before this saying that it's Derby County website's a bit old with 25 appearances, 9 goals as a forward. Kind of, what do you think, since being at Derby, has brought you to a new level, do you think, and kind of upped your game? Or
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, is there anything in particular that's kind of helped you mature, maybe the player?
I think I've kind of gained a lot of confidence being there. It's such a great group of girls. Everyone's just in it for a team. It's never individuals, and I think it's just a great team to be like a part of. Like I say, I've kind of matured a little bit, I would say, in my opinion. Obviously, when I was at Leicester, I was only like 17, so I think it's been a big jump to kind of first team, like official football. And like I say, I've just got confidence. I've just kind of matured in a way.
have you seen a step up kind of with having to go from the youth to the actual full-fledged first team? Can you see a difference with the opponents?
Yeah, definitely.
How...
Definitely. I think the intensity of the game is such a higher level, and it's one that you really have to adapt to. But once you've adapted, it's so much more exciting and physical. It's such a better game to play.
100%. So is there a role model that you can do one for the men's game and one for the women's game of who is kind of your inspiration and who kind of got you into football, or it can be someone that since you've been playing you kind of watched them train and they've kind of aspired you to push on further, or maybe mentored you in a way?
To be honest, growing up, I never really watched football that much. I didn't actually enjoy watching it. I just liked playing it.
Okay.
So I honestly never really had someone when I was younger that I aspired to be like. And obviously, women's football back then was such a smaller thing. So to be honest, no, I don't really have a role model. Obviously now, like in the recent years, the Lionesses themselves have just been a role model for all of us kind of in women's football. So of course, they've been massive, and it shows you that, you know, the game can go anywhere and it is going to get a lot bigger. But in particular, as a person, I wouldn't say I do have a role model, in all honesty.
Fair enough. You touched on the Lionesses there quickly, and can you see maybe when you're at home, as you play at Mickleover Sports Ground, don't you? Do you see a big difference in the attendance there for your games now since the win, or not?
I obviously wasn't there massively before it, so I'm sure there definitely is, but this season for sure we've had games where the attendance has been ridiculous. Like we obviously played a game against Forest at Pride Park, and there was about 4,500 people there, which obviously I didn't see the before seasons, but in my opinion that's definitely probably the record-breaking attendance that there's been for a women's game in the East Midlands derby. So I'm sure it's definitely making an impact, and we can only hope that it just gets bigger.
100%. And I mean, like with the Women's Premier League, there's a lot of light shown on that, but I mean, being a couple of divisions below in the National League North, of course, getting 4,500 people to turn up to support you is a lot of people. So, I mean, I think that's a mad thing to be able to do. And I mean, Forest have got promoted now, haven't they? So you won't play them next season. Is that right?
Well, they did get promoted, but in our league it's a bit confusing. You have to play a playoff final, which they unfortunately lost. So there will be another East Midlands derby next season now.
There you go. And they need to top 4,500 this season. So moving on to Derby and how, of course, you finished fourth last season, kind of what is the kind of plan, do you think, for this season? Where can you see yourself striving for personally and as a team?
As a team, I think obviously last season was a bit hit and miss with everything with the men's club, and we lost a lot of players over the summer, I think, because of that. So it was a bit of a transition, a bit of a rebuild this summer. But like we say, to come fourth it was far more than what we expected. So hopefully now we're going to rebuild again and get even better players. We're going to become a bigger team, a better team. And obviously everyone says they want to win the league, but of course that's what we can dream of as such. So fingers crossed we can perform week in, week out and actually win some silverware. But individually, I think, again, just more of what I did last season, just more confidence, scoring more, assisting more, just kind of getting my name out there. And that's all I can hope for. Like I say, just maturing and improving on and off the pitch, really. No,
that's perfect. I think you've summed it up nicely. Of course, at 20, you're kind of trying to build yourself, aren't you, and trying to make yourself a player, and kind of you're still growing with traits and kind of how you bring yourself on and off the pitch. So I think you rounded it up brilliantly there. So moving on, a bit of a different one. Of course, you kind of started building your name in the footballing world. Is there anything when you were growing up that you may have thought, I would have rather done that instead? Or was it always kind of, you saw, I'm good at football and kind of went with it?
Obviously, when I was growing up, there was never really the idea of having football as a career. Obviously, being women's football, obviously, you know, in men's, it's always possible. But when I was younger, there was all the women's football players had like full-time jobs on the side. So it was always something I dreamt of, but I never thought it would become a reality. But obviously, the past, since I've been 15, there has been a bit more of a reality. So I've kind of set my sights on that and only that, and hopefully it pays off. But there's nothing else really that I kind of enjoy. Obviously, there's little things here and there, but football is the main thing that I've always wanted to do and always hoped I can do. So,
do Derby support you, say, off the field? So, say for example, if there's something you're interested in, or kind of more studies as you're at that age of maybe university, do they support you with kind of them extracurricular things, or kind of outside the footballing world stuff, as well as, of course, on the pitch?
Yeah, they do. They're really great, actually. I know at the moment there's a few girls that are doing a scholarship, so they're partnered with the Derby Uni, so they go to the university and do a degree or whatnot, and they also kind of play with us, which is like a great thing for anyone that wants to do both. So they are really supportive of it, yeah.
No, that's perfect. So kind of moving on a bit to your career, what would you say your career high or the biggest achievement you've had in the footballing world so far?
I think there's been a few things that I could class as a high, but if I was to say anything, it would probably be playing against the Man City team. Obviously, there was full of Lucy Bronze, like full lionesses in the team. Obviously, it wasn't a funnest game for me personally, but in terms of looking at the game from an outsider's perspective, like when I was younger, it's something you'd kind of dream of. So probably that if I had to pick.
Are they some of the hardest players that you've played against in your career so far, that Man City team, or is there someone else that kind of sticks out?
There's a few players obviously individually from other teams, but 100% that whole team in general was just ridiculous. I remember in the changing room we looked at the lineup and we just thought, oh god. But like you say, they're kind of on a different level at the moment, and so we can just try and match them as best we can, I think.
But it's something to strive towards, isn't it? If you played them at a young age, it kind of gives you look, this is where I can work towards, and kind of give you an end goal for yourself.
Yeah, 100%. Like when you say, after I'd played, I was just thinking that you just kind of want to be them as such. Like the way, even just playing against them, they're just such good technical players, and it kind of gives you something to kind of strive for and work towards, definitely.
No, 100%, and that's good that you've said that as well. Moving on, is there a defining moment in your career that kind of sticks out to you? So maybe an injury or a particular game that kind of you saw yourself kind of evolve, get better?
I'm thankfully, like touch wood, I've not had any serious injuries. So on that front, I've been completely fine. So there's nothing there. I think in terms of games, maybe this season, I think like last season when I joined, I didn't have the best season. I was kind of just making my way into first team football, and it's a bit of a kind of challenge. But this season, I think definitely I've kind of took it into my stride. Obviously, hopefully next season even more. But I think the first few games of this season, I really started to kind of realise what kind of player I am and what I'm good at, what I'm not so good at, and I think that was kind of like a big kick up the backside and such in terms of you need to do this, and now you kind of realise what you're doing and that. So probably at the start of this season, I think was a bit of a defining moment as such for me.
Nice. And of course, you're still progressing through Derby. Is there any kind of future goals or kind of anything that you want to strive towards to do in your career?
For Derby, obviously, we just want to do the best we can, hopefully win the league. But individually, I would just say, obviously, just playing at the highest level I can. Obviously, it's what I play football for. If I can play for the best team in the world, obviously, I'd play for the best team in the world. Play for my country, of course. But yeah, obviously, that's just a dream. Right now, I'm just focusing on the smaller steps. But hopefully, like I say, that is definitely a dream of mine, to play in the WSL, obviously, week in, week out. And playing for England would definitely be a dream, of course.
Now, have you featured for them at any of the kind of younger levels at all, or have you never kind of featured in an England squad or been around it?
When I was younger, I think it was under 15s. I went to a few different camps, but nothing major, just a few training sessions here and there. So, I mean, I've done more than what you say some other people have, but I don't take it to any extreme. It was just a little camp when I was younger, which is nice, but obviously it's not bringing me anything yet, so still more work to do.
No, exactly, and you acknowledging that there's still work to do, so that shows that you've got the passion and that kind of fire to build on what you're already building, which is great. is there anything in your career to date that you would do differently if you could kind of rewind back to the beginning and do it all again?
I think just kind of when I was younger, I think I took it serious, but never I think I didn't realise what it could actually be, and I kind of now I don't regret things, but perhaps in the past I could have just put in that little extra bit of effort and little extra push to kind of try and get me to where I was. But I think I kind of just coasted through as such, and I've never really pushed myself to any kind of levels, which obviously I'm doing now. But I think when I was younger, I think I kind of accepted that I was good enough to play, but never wanted to be better than everyone else. I just accepted that I was okay. But I think now I've started to realise that I just want to be the best as such.
But I think that's good if you kind of were being steady and you still got to this level and now you're pushing. That should show that hopefully your greater years are in front of you.
I hope so, anyway.
Is there one piece of advice that you'd give your younger self? Would it be kind of to work harder, or would it be something different?
I think I'd just tell myself to actually kind of believe in myself. I think that's another thing that before I say every footballer probably has, but kind of struggled in actually thinking you can actually do this. Don't put yourself down. I used to have one bad game and it'd affect me for the next 6 months as such. So I think obviously when I was younger, not as much, but I think if I could, I would just kind of say to myself, actually believe in yourself and actually keep trying, don't give up kind of thing, which is what everyone says. But the biggest thing is to just never give up. You never know what can happen. Obviously, Jamie Vardy, for example, he got into the Leicester first team when he was he'd been playing non-league for however long.
Yeah, he's worked
that anything can happen. I think the best thing to do is to just keep trying and never give up on your dream as such.
I think that's a nice bit of advice, and especially for anyone that's who is younger and trying to make the way, that's kind of a nice bit of advice for them. I'm going to just ask you some quick fire questions just to finish and just see kind of what goes out there. So, is there a stadium that you have in mind, like a dream stadium to play at, that you've not featured?
Anfield, of course.
Anfield, so you're a Liverpool fan. What's the best stadium you've played at currently?
Good question. To be fair, the King Power is very nice, so I'd probably say that.
Nice. Go-to karaoke song. So I know we discussed it a bit before this, but kind of if you had to do an initiation song, if the girls make you get up, start this season and say, belt out a tune, what are you going for?
That's a good question. I haven't actually done a proper initiation, so I don't know, but I'd honestly sing anything. But if I had to pick, maybe a Justin Bieber song. I used to be a massive Justin Bieber fan, so I'd sing anything.
Are you going old school Bieber or new school?
Old school Bieber.
Bit of Baby.
Yeah, something like that. All day long.
And then, would you rather progress in England, or if you got the opportunity to move abroad, which one would you rather do?
Depends where abroad. If it was somewhere like Spain, I think I'd take the sunshine.
And then, the last question is there a particular player that you want to play with before they retire? So is there kind of a lioness or maybe another big known woman in the game that you'd want to play with before they retire? If they say, oh, you can go and play with them for a one-off game, is there anyone in mind?
Good question. I think I'd pick a few people.
Oh, you can pick a few.
I think if I had to pick one, I'd say Leah Williams, and obviously pretty much captain of England.
Nice.
And she seems just such a genuine person as well. I think she'd be so good to play with. So I'd probably pick her. It's
interesting as a forward that you picked a defender, so someone that you wouldn't really have much contact with on an actual pitch.
I know, I probably wouldn't actually speak to her in the game, but she could just pick it forward.
It'd have to be a five-side game.
Yeah, definitely.
But no, that's wicked. Just to round up, where are people going to find you? So, in terms of Derby, in terms of yourself personally, where can people find you and kind of see more about you and kind of follow your progress?
Well, yeah, obviously at Derby this season, so hopefully everyone gets down to Mickleover, comes to watch, gives us some support, and pushes us through the harder games of the season. So I'll definitely be there for sure, obviously, on Instagram and everything like that. I'm always active, but mainly Derby County, of course.
Brilliant. No, thank you for coming on and kind of sharing everything. It's been brilliant. Thank you.
That's not a problem.
Want to know what's happening within Derby's black community? Or perhaps you have a story of your own to share? Then look no further than Majatu, your one-stop source for local African and Caribbean news. With our digital news platform and quarterly print magazine, keep up to date on all of the latest in arts, entertainment, food, sports and more. Find us online at mojatu.com.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Peaking to Success podcast. If you enjoyed, please make sure you follow us on Spotify as well as Instagram, where you can see all the updates of who is coming up, as well as who has already been on the podcast, as well as Twitter, where there is information and interaction from me on there as well. Thank you.